and esteemed guest who joined us today in the early morning. So today, the management book review, what I'm going to cover is titled The Dip by Seth Godin. So I could see that because of this is the book, Dip. So it says the extraordinary benefit of knowing when to quit and when to stick. So this is a very simple book. I would call it less than 80 pages, very easy to read. If there are less number of paper, that's more of motivation for me as such. So I would take you through the next 7 minutes on what I learned from this and how do I relate it. Always listening to a speech or reading a book is more about the relation, what we do, how it matters to me, or did I made it impact to me. So maybe let's start with the question, learning from Karthik, which was the feedback I got for my CC3 Karthik way back in 10 years from Chan. Question is about, do you feel like giving up? Anyone? Do you feel like giving up? No? So the question comes is everybody has sometime or other in a life that the question comes is of giving up. So this book totally changed the fundamental philosophy of saying never quit. The school or the college or wherever we do, the basic fundamental philosophy is never quit approach. So this is testing the basics of the never quit approach, how I'll tell you. So this starts with defining the necessity for best in the world. Always we say being the best matters to everybody. And this is talking about somewhere the best, the people for, say, for instance, if I'm going to hire somebody when I want a resume, I don't go and say my admin or HR staff that send me a mediocre resume. I'll always say the best resume I want, right? The question is, the definition of a best has a great meaning to it. So the definition of a best is the world is so big, but the person who is searching, say for instance, if it is a publishing company or a kind of a talent search firm, the area in which the company operates, the cities in which they operate, the kind of department in which they want to search, the search circle comes down. Even in this internet world, the search area of search comes down. So it is not that you have to be the best in the entire world, but the best in what you are doing, the best in the area where you are trying to sell your business. So that's where the best definition brings up. This comes to the matter like, why do you want to be number one or the best? That's the second question asked. The first and foremost thing is, obviously, if you are not the best, you are not going to be sold as a premium, right? So that is going to be the number one. Number two, there are only few are in the top, the best in the top. It means scarcity make being at the top worth something rather than being one among the others. That brings to the question of, the whole book is talking about the magic of quitting. The dip is nothing but magic of quitting. So the author got the inspiration from magic of thinking big. He read about 10-15 years back and related it. So there are three curves he anticipated how the people will quit. The number one curve is the curve which is a dip curve. There is a dip, it's more like a parabolic, and there is going to be a great success thereafter. So the dip curve is, the point of dip is where the name of the curve is a dip curve. The second one is cul-de-sac curve. It's a French word for a dead end. When I face a dead end, obviously people have nothing else to do. You can be mediocre, or you can do the managing stuff, or you can quit. The third one is the kind of a curve of a cliff, which will take you to the peak very hard for you to quit. I would even say it's a rare, but it's scary. He related the cliff curve to somebody kind of a smoker. Somebody who is smoking, he feels so good. He continued to do, keep enjoying it. It goes to the peak and it's very tough for him to quit. The moment he quit, it falls down. That's a curve called cliff. Out of these three curves, the best curve, what he's talking about, deciding when to quit, is more about the dip curve. The dip curve is something starting as a parabolic, going to a dip. And this is the place, he says, plenty of people, decided to quit because somebody, say for instance, on a sales, there is a internationally published research says that at a particular country at a particular time, the seventh meeting of the sales, 80% of the sales pitches converted into a business. Somebody goes and quit at the sixth meeting. Somebody goes and quit at the fifth meeting. So the dip is the place where he says you need to know it is just little more to go ahead and to, don't quit. You carry forward for that. So it takes an example of life of Jack Welch. When Jack Welch came back to GE to lead it, he decided that any division in his company supposed to be in a number 1 or 2. If not, he don't want the division. There was $1 billion division which was rating at number 4 in his business unit, but he decided to quit because it goes a lot of time and energy and money for the management to spend on something which we are not the best. So instead, author suggests or thinks that if you have that energy, time and money to concentrate on the best one business, rather than spreading on a business on a fourth rank or a fifth rank. It goes again with the same example of a woodpecker. Woodpecker going and hitting on multiple trees thousands of times. Instead of that, it only goes into a one single tree and gets the food on the tree. That's the relevant. So within the next few minutes, maybe I'll take you with a clue that there are umpteen reasons why people want to quit. I would maybe read a couple of things that you are running out of your time, or when you run out of money, when you get scared, or when you're not serious about it, you quit and you lose interest and enthusiasm. He correlates with respect to the surf boating, all those adventure trips, what we do. It's more about interest you get, but finally you lose interest because you're not enthusiastic about it. And you're only looking at the short term rather than looking at the long term. And finally, when you pick the wrong one, obviously you want to quit. That brings to the 8 different types of a dip which is available for any individual to look at it on. For instance, 1 or 2 of them are like, there is something called a manufacturing dip. When somebody designed a product and got it sorted out, it is going to be the moment they want to decide whether they want to quit or not, and the dip of manufacturing dip, something like education dip, sales dip, and everything. Maybe one example I would say, what is the necessity to quit? So there is an author called Michael Kruktok, who was a doctor, passed out from Harvard Medical School, and also he did a PhD. But finally, he thought after finishing everything, he quit this great profession of doctor, and he found that his calling was for a writer, author. So he quit that and he became a best-selling author in US. The logic is quitting it on these 3 curves. And finally, the major intent of this is to know when do you want to quit. Quitting is not like, I'm not able to do it, I'm failing it. No. My boss is mediocre, he is not giving me a support, I'm going to manage. It's more like, facing it rather than leaving out of it. It is more about a strategy. Quitting is not a tactic, it's a strategy. Quit, when to quit. It's more about, he says that when somebody runs in a marathon, he decides when I want to quit. It is not that my body is aching, I'm not getting sufficient fluid, somebody else is past me, I'm quitting. It's no. You decide when do you want to quit. So that gives you the opportunity to do something else better rather than sitting on to something which is mediocre, which is not giving you a result, which you waste time and energy. So I'll end with 3 questions before somebody wanted to take this dip, stay there and quit. Number 1, am I panicking? If I'm panicking, I would say don't quit, because it's going to be a kind of a ad hoc decision you might be taking. Number 2, whom I'm trying to influence. It's a single person or a single market or a multiple market. If it is a single person, you can't stay in the mind of a person. If it is a market, if it's a kind of group of people, obviously there is somebody who will sell with your idea. The third one is what sort of measurable progress I'm making. In the sense, if you are a salesperson, you're selling it, at least one of my customer is turning into a word of mouth to other customer, or my customer sales is totally stagnated. So the question here is, it is not about never quit. It is more about knowing the dip, stay there, and strategize to quit. Over to you, TM Modi.